How's everyone doing? Today we're tackling the equally dazzling, equally idiotic, full body 360 combat spin. The drama, the flair, the absolute tactical suicide. Seriously, do you see this everywhere? The hero kills one bad guy, then spins, and it spins around dramatically and then takes out the next one. But is it totally practical? I've touched on this before a couple times. I thought I'd do a full-on video on this. It looks cool. You know, we see it in movies and people are dazzled by it and think, wow, he's skilled, he's acrobatic, he's all this good, stuff. But that's movies, unfortunately. And anime is big for it. So it's not really beneficial in a real sword fight. I know we don't use swords anymore, but if you're in HEMA or anything like that, where you deal with fencing with another opponent, it's very unrealistic. So by sitting there spinning, you're potentially leaving yourself open for your opponent, basically, to attack. So let's kind of break it down with this little mini tornado that we see people do. Why it's a bad idea. This single most undeniable flaw to this whole thing is you take your eyes off your opponent. And when you do that, you don't know exactly what your opponent is doing. So you're potentially leaving, like I said, yourself for an attack or a kill from your opponent. Because when it comes to sword fighting, it's very fast, accurate, with parries and blocks and counterattacks. You don't want it to be, distracting in any shape, way, or form. So when you turn your body, or basically put your back to your opponent, you're taking your eyes off of them. And you see some people go, oh, you could do it this way, you could do it that way. But the problem is, when they have another opponent with them, the other opponent's not moving. That's a big problem. That doesn't tell you it's going to work. The time it takes you to do a 360-degree spin, it takes you way too long. It also you're telegraphing your movement to your opponent. It's telling them, oh, you're going to be winding up, and depending on the strike that you're going to do, you're actually telling them, because you have to be able to move. You have to move your arms while you're spinning in order to perform the move. You can't just spin and then try and do it, because now you've taken even a longer time to complete the move. While the whole time, your opponent can either step back out of the way, step off to the side, or while you're spinning, attack you. And I can't stress this enough. The number one that sells this failure is when you expose your back. It doesn't matter if you're fast or not. You're still exposing your back. Now, like I said, it looks cool, when it's done in movies and everything, but that's movies, unfortunately, or anime. and we'll get to that one next. There's even some people who, there are certain cultures where they do spins and sword flurries. We'll get to that one in another video, sword flurries. But it's entertainment. They are trained to do these things for entertainment purposes. It serves no combatant skills whatsoever, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And it is actually entertaining. But as far as if you want to learn how to use a sword, be able to fence or duel with another opponent, it's totally useless. Unless you want to tell your opponent, yeah, hit me. Because that's basically what you're doing. As far as target cutting, seeing a few videos where people can like spin and then cut the targets and everything, which is fine. Those are entertaining as well too. Again though, if you start fencing or dueling with another opponent, that is totally useless. It will not do anything for you except tell your opponent exactly what you're doing instead of staying focused on your opponent and watching their body movement and where their sword is. You're taking your eyes completely off of it. The whole objective to one of the bases for swordsmanship is momentum and control. You want to be able to wind up enough momentum to create your strike, but in the same sense, you want to be controlling it at the same time. So if you cut a quick strike like so to somebody, you want to be able to bring the sword back, get into defensive position, and then get ready for your next move. If you strike and you're way off over to the side, it's going to take you longer to recover. That gives your opponent more time to strike you. And then on top of it, when you expose your back, people don't realize how much there is to the back that you're exposing. Even if you're wearing armor, it's got some weak points to the back, even though if it's full plated. Because really, you're not supposed to be exposing your back. But you do have crucial organs back there. You have your kidneys, your spine, for one. If that gets severed, you're done. Kidney, if you get one, you could live. If you get both, you're done. But yeah, people really don't think of that because they're like, well, it's just my back. No, there's a lot there. It really is. Now, why do games and movies do it? All the time. It's fancy. Basically, it's entertaining. And yeah, I, just like all of you, like watching it. But I've also practiced swordsmanship. I've fenced with other people. So I know the basics, the realities of what works, what doesn't work. So this video is not to bash it, but as much as to bring awareness to, like, if you want to learn how to use a sword, forget all that video game, anime, and movie tropes, because they don't work. They just won't. It's like fencing. We actually learned, you see in the old movies, they go touche when they sat there and they fenced. That's actually a movie trope. You do not say touche in fencing at all. It does not exist. The movie industry developed that to present more flair, make it more spectacle and entertaining for people. So that's just one example. But as far as the full 360 body spin, no, it doesn't work. You're going to find out real fast if you decide to duel somebody how much it doesn't work. And if you, with technology now, we have a lot of stuff online we can learn, which is fine. But if they're teaching you, oh, do this move and you can move around this way, you know, where it's like a spin, but their other opponent isn't moving, I wouldn't perform that move unless they're actually showing you how it can work if the opponent moves, because that's not reality. Now, there is some historical accounts where you do spin your body, and that is actually with the great sword made in Spain. Now, granted, that was a long sword, kind of like a nodachi. But even then, from what I was reading, it was a risky move to do. Again, because you're exposing yourself, your backside, and it doesn't work. I mean, if you would have to be super fast, because the whole objective of having a longer sword is because you have a longer reach. But if you get past that point where the sword is most effective and you're spinning, having a really long sword is going to be really ineffective after you get past that point. So, let me know what your thoughts are on this one. How do you feel about it? I mean, granted, have fun. It's just, this video is more for if you actually want to learn how to, well, basically use a sword, you know? I mean, the mechanics for all swords is almost the same, okay? Whether it be European, Asian, you know, India, the movements you're going to do with your body are going to be almost the same, because we all move our body in one way. That's just the way it is. As far as the US goes, we really don't have a swordsmanship at all, because we didn't emphasize using swords. So a lot of this is going to be from older time periods. So just be mindful if when you start learning or you're learning online, to see some of those tropes so you're not falling into a false sense of security, like, oh, well, this teacher online says it works, you know, but they performed it, but the other opponent didn't do nothing. They just kind of like stood there like this. Because that your opponent's not going to do this. They're going to move either way or step back out of the way. And I see that a lot on some channels where they're teaching like European or whatever, and they're like, oh no, you could just spin your body out of the way. You'll be fine. No, you won't. It does not work. Just like sword flourishes won't work in a fight neither, and that'll be the next video coming up. We'll talk about sword flourishes and how they're impractical as well too. I've even heard some channels say, oh, it's a great way to get a feel for the sword. We'll get into that in the next video on sword flourishes. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you think, how you feel about 360 swords spinning your body in a sword fight and whatnot. Like I said, I enjoy the movies too, just as much as everybody else. Just, it is not the reality of if you want to learn how to use one. So, take it easy, and we'll see you all in the next one. Whee!